All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. And to just state the obvious, to get the cat out of the bag, the Seattle Seahawks, they're legitimate contenders. It might seem like a reach, it's really not a reach. What was their issue that we saw last season and in the playoffs, even though this team went 9-8? In fact, they were leading at halftime against the San Francisco 49ers in the first round of the playoffs. It was defense, right? So what did they do immediately when free agency starts? Well, they addressed their defense. And keep in mind, this team still has the 5th pick in the draft and the 20th pick in the draft, and it doesn't end there. They're just loaded up with draft capital. We'll talk about all that later, but defensively, seriously, Devin Bush, Julian Love, Dramont Jones, the big signing in Dramont Jones, Jerron Reed comes back. This team has done thus far exactly what they needed to do. All right. A big reason why they were knocked out early in the playoffs was because of their rush defense. In fact, their rush defense was horrible, and it severely let them down at the end of the season. It let them down in the season in general, but especially in the playoffs. We saw it against San Francisco, where they gave up 181 yards on the ground. In fact, during the regular season, they gave up 100 rushing yards 13 times and more than 150 rushing yards 8 times. So you get Dramont Jones, you get Julian Love, you get Devin Bush, you get Jerron Reed. Applause to you. Hats off to this Seattle Seahawks management for addressing exactly what they needed to address. This team has been so aggressive, and I love it. Their run defense last season ranked 30th in yards allowed and 26th in yards per carried with 4.9. Those are not good statistics. Their pass defense was around middle of the pack, but it's a young defense. It's a young team in general, and the future is extremely bright. Before we get any further into tonight's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I post maybe 2 or 3 Seahawks videos every single week, so Seahawks fans, you guys continue to bless this channel, man. Seriously, I could make a whole video on how you guys have changed my life. Let's try and get this video to 1,000 likes. Seriously, love you guys so much. Now, the big move was Dramont Jones. All right, and we've talked about Dramont Jones. We've talked about Jerron Reed. We've talked about the Seahawks defense before. Reed and Jones alone combined for 9 sacks in 2022. So not only are you improving your rush defense, and once again, you have the 5th pick in the draft, and you also have the 20th pick in the draft, and I cannot wait to discuss that at the end of this video. You had Julian Love, who last season, 124 tackles. He's great in the run support game. This Julian Love might have been the most underrated signing of the offseason, and then you get more proven players in Dramont Jones and Jerron Reed. Devin Bush, low risk, very high reward. You also got Geno Smith, Mr. Comeback Player of the Year, on an extremely team-friendly contract. 3 years, $75 million. I remember sitting here making a Seahawks video, I think it was, I don't know, sometime around November or December, thinking, the reports are Geno Smith wants $40 million a year. Is Seattle going to chalk up or cough up that money, I should say? Well, the good news is 3 years, $75 million with incentives as well is not bad. In fact, it's a great contract. It lets this team be extremely flexible, which we saw in the first week of free agency. Now, things have kind of come to more of a simmer, right? We're simmering it. We're sauteing these veggies. Now, that analogy doesn't really make any sense, but you get the point, hopefully. Even if Geno Smith were to have a down season, you can release him. You can save $13.8 million off your 2024 salary cap. So the outlook on this team is extremely good. And once again, I could sit here and ramble for 8 straight minutes on how Seattle was not supposed to go 9-8 in any way, shape, or form. But when we look at Jerron Reed, Devin Bush, and Dramont Jones, these 3 new front 7 defenders, they combined for 180 tackles last year. But you want to know an even better statistic? They missed 4 tackles. Out of 180 total tackles, those 3 players last season missed 4 tackles. All right, so you're getting a huge boost not only in the run game, you're getting a huge boost in rushing the passer, generating pressures, generating sacks. This defense last year, they were ranked 25th. Watch out, San Francisco. Like, seriously, watch out, San Francisco. They got to figure out their quarterback play because there's a team called the Seattle Seahawks, and they are rising up. So let's talk a little bit about the draft, shall we? Now, I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and if you guys have been watching my Seahawks videos, you know the deal. I believe that the first 4 picks will be quarterbacks. All right, but either way, even if the first 4 picks aren't quarterbacks, Seattle's gonna have one of these players. You're going to have Will Anderson Jr., Alabama edge rusher, who was an absolute stud. He had 10 sacks last year. You're going to have Christian Gonzalez, lockdown superstar stud cornerback. You're going to have Jalen Carter, who arguably is the best talent-wise player in the draft in total, even with quarterbacks included. Or you're going to have Tyree Wilson. All right, so yeah, that's pretty freaking solid if you ask me. Now, I've been seeing a lot of mock drafts. Obviously, we're like 5? Actually, we're like 4 weeks away from the draft. Oh my goodness, time flies. That's a whole nother thing. Anyways, I've been seeing some mocks, and it has the Seahawks taking Anderson, Tyree, Jalen Carter, whoever it is. I've also seen a bunch of mock drafts where they take Will Levis, where they take Anthony Richardson. I think their best route is taking a quarterback in the later rounds. You have Drew Lock, who is returning for one more year, right? So even if, God forbid, Geno Smith were to go down with an injury, you have I would say, pretty talented backup quarterback and enticing backup quarterback as well in Drew Lock. So I'm not taking a quarterback at 5. In fact, the most recent mock draft I loved had the Seahawks taking, once again, a lockdown quarterback, Christian Gonzalez. So you pair him with Tariq Woolen, who is a superstar stud. So now you have 2 superstar studs at the cornerback position. This is like a Legion of Boom days. Gonzalez can line up with anybody. He will line up with anybody. All right. But even if they don't get Christian Gonzalez, well, you take your pick. Do you want Will Anderson Jr. if the Cardinals were to trade their pick? Do you want Jalen Carter from Georgia? Do you want Tyree Wilson? Who do you want? You can have them. The first 3 picks undisputedly will be quarterbacks. That's a fact. All right. So you're going to have a stud at 5. I wouldn't trade back. The reason I wouldn't trade back is because if I have my pick at one of these players, if the Seahawks aren't sold on any of these players, then we have a different conversation. But I have a feeling that they're sold on, or they're going to happily take one of these players at pick number 5. A quarterback, I think that brings unnecessary drama to Seattle. It's like, is Geno on his way out? Are they looking for replacements already? Do they not fully believe in him? I don't think it would be good for morale. I get it. Competition brings the best out of anybody. I don't see the quarterback position as a dire need as I do. The defense isn't a dire need, but it's more of a need than it is the quarterback position. So I'll take a QB at the highest in the 2nd round. I'd view a guy like Hendon Hooker, 25-year-old quarterback from Tennessee. I'd view him as like a decent pick. But once again, you have Drew Lock. Pick number 20. This is where things get a little interesting. So Marquise Goodwin went to the Browns earlier today. That 3 spot on the wide receiver is a gaping hole. And I've seen some mock drafts where they actually trade down from 20. I'm not a fan of that at all. I would take a defensive tackle. I would take, specifically if he's on the board, Myles Murphy. I would happily take Myles Murphy, edge rusher from Clemson. I think that would be a crazy move. But I will say this. If Jackson Smith-Njigba is still available, oh my goodness, I get it. Defense is the biggest need, even with these free agent acquisitions. I am taking JSN at pick number 20 easily. There is no doubt in my mind. This is a superstar talent. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a superstar talent, wide receiver from Ohio State, and I will happily take him at pick number 20. If not, give me Myles Murphy. All right. So good position to be in. If you haven't seen the growing trend here, Seahawks fans are very aware of this. I don't know if the NFL fans are quite aware of this. I don't know if NFL teams are quite aware of this. The Seattle Seahawks something's brewing. And it's a little bit something stronger than coffee. All right. So, yeah, I would give the Seahawks offseason thus far at least an A-. I think there are some holes that still need to be filled. I think a veteran free agent should still come on in here and just give this team some stability. Don't know who that is going to be. Don't know who it could be. Don't even know if that's the direction they're going to take. Regardless, they'll take a wide receiver at some point in the draft, whether it's JSN. I don't think Jordan Addison will fall to 20. But once again, if JSN's available, I pick number 20. Oh my goodness. Yes, please. That's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Let's try and get this video to 1,000 likes. Seriously, Seahawks fans, I love you guys so much. You're seriously changing my life one video at a time. I cannot wait. I had so much fun covering you guys last season of my first year covering football, and I cannot wait for the draft. I can't wait for the rest of free agency. I can't wait for the offseason. I can't wait for next season. Seriously, it's just a good time to be a Seahawks fan right now. And that's coming from a Packer fan. And trust me, I haven't forgotten about Brandon Bostic. Peace.